What is up, fellow travelers? Aaron the Old Man Gamer here, and today we are playing Ultima 3. Yes, this is Exodus, the third installment in the Ultima series. Really, really old school stuff right here. That's why we have it here on Old School Game Tyme. So let's start the game. We are going to journey onward. We already have a prefab party created. This party is actually fairly leveled up. I did the grind path on this already. So we have not explored anything as of yet. So we're going to do a full playthrough on this. But there is a grind path, and I recommend doing this before you get anything done. If you've never played this game before, I'm going to show you the grind path. So we start here, right by Lord British's castle, which is right up here. And then there is, I guess, Britain. I'm not sure if it's called specifically Britain in this world or not, but we're in Sosaria. We are not in Britain yet. Britannia does not come along until Ultima 4. So up until then, all of the Ultima worlds have been slightly different. So here's the grind path. And this is something you should do when you start off, because in the beginning, your XPs and your money are going to be very low. So we start off here, and we go this way. Go west. See this mountain range right here? It's very just straight line from Lord British's castle. There's a little hole right here. You go in here, and there's a town. This town right here, we're going to enter it. Have not explored this at all for the sake of the game, but this is an old grind path. So this is a town called U. Now, the thing about U is that this guy right here is a cleric. This entire town is full of only clerics. There's no guards, there's no fighters, there's no wizards, just clerics. So when you attack these clerics, only one, I'll do an example right here. See, this cleric only has one enemy showing up instead of multiples. So like if you attack a guard, for example, multiple guards will show up, and more than likely they will kick your ass, and your entire party will be killed and you'll die. And when you die in Ultima 3, it writes your status to disk. And when that happens, let me put this chest right here. Oh, it's going to be problematic today, I see. That's okay. Alright, got the chest. Just as an aside, the Apar Unum spell, the cleric spell that is B on your list, it costs 5 MP, and it allows you to open a chest without triggering any of the traps. Just FYI, right now, the traps in Ultima 3 are brutal. If you get hit by a trap, the bomb traps are bad because they do a lot of damage, but poison is worse because there is a spell to cure poison, but at your current MP level, you're not going to be able to cast it because it's, I believe, 35 points, and the max you can have starting off as a cleric is 25. So let me give you a quick status on here. Just, we're getting off the topic, but just to show the basic stuff right here. Okay, we passed our stats. Okay. Here we are. So this character is a cleric. As you may know, clerics are a class where their power comes from wisdom. Wizards, their power comes from intelligence. Rogue types, thieves, will have dexterity as their prime, and fighter types will have strength. So what happens with these types of people is that your best option is to put 25 points, which is the maximum you can allot, into your prime. So if you're a fighter, your prime will be strength. There's no things like constitution. There's no things that will make your hit points higher or any of those things. The only modifier that counts is your prime. So if you're a fighter, you want to dump everything into strength. If you're a rogue type, you want to dump everything into dexterity. Wizards, everything into intelligence, and clerics, everything into wisdom. So what you want to do is do the grind path so that you can increase your gold and your XPs. So this cleric is only level 1. Clerics have a hard time leveling up until they get the ability to cast mass attack spells. Same with wizards, but wizards have a built-in magic missile spell that costs 5 magic points. So you could just, it's like shooting an arrow at people. So what you want to do is go into you, and you kill all the priests in you and take all their chests. Each priest is worth 6 XPs, and you need 100 to level up to the next level. Once you level up, or you get to the next level, it will go up, and to raise your hit point maximum, you go back here to Lord British's castle. You go over here to Lord British. He's the only king in this castle. I don't believe there are any other kings in this game. He's the only one. Come on, Chuckles, move out of the way. Here we go. So you talk to Lord British, and he will increase your hit point maximum to a certain point. So once you hit level 7, he will tell you to seek the Mark of Kings. That means that you're high enough level so that you could go into the dungeons and not just be massacred right away. So that's a good indicator that you're right on that area. So all we've done so far in this game is increase our XPs and our gold. So right now we're sitting on about 17,000 gold pieces. So my first character, named Joker here, after the guy from Persona 5. If you know Persona 5, you'll know that the 4 characters here are 4 characters from Persona 5 is their code names. Joker being the player character and the other characters being NPCs. But I chose to use them because, well, they fit. And one of the things about this game is if your entire party dies, everybody in your party is dead. So you can't, if you start over, you have to create a new party. And there's a way to resurrect everybody. It's basically you disband your party, you reform it, and then you include the person in the party that has all the money. So there's a command called join gold. What you want to do is join gold to one character at some point in the game. Usually when you get a substantial amount on one character, you join it to everybody. So in the inevitability that all of your characters get wiped out because there's no fleeing combat, everybody who is dead will be dead when you load the game. So when you reload the game, you have to create an entirely new party, 3 new characters, and you can have 1 character from the previous group or 2 characters. But what you do is that you would take the character has the money, put him in a new party. I usually join the gold to the cleric because the cleric can cast healing spells. So you would resurrect the cleric by going into Lord British's castle. There's a healer there. There's also a healer, I believe, in you. And then from there, you can, reform your old party, and the character that was resurrected will be alive again. And then you could use that character to resurrect all the other previous members, and you can get back to where you were. So one of the cool things about Ultima 3 is that the world itself is not large enough so that you could just, get lost in it. The world wraps around is very small. So, exploring is not a very big deal here. There's lots of nooks and crannies and stuff, but a lot of these things require you to have stuff in order to do it. So we're going to start off by entering this town because, as I said, we haven't done any explorations. I played this game a long time ago. I still remember quite a bit of it. But we're doing a playthrough here. And an Old School Game Tyme is about re-experiencing all these old games. So I wanted to start with this one because this one was one of my favorites. Not my first Ultima. My first Ultima was Ultima 2. Let's see. Exodus lies beyond the Silver Snake. So there is a place where you could see Exodus's castle. It's basically the story is that an island was created by a volcano that erupted from the ocean, and there's a castle in this island. And the only way you can access it is a giant silver serpent guarding the path. There's a moon gate that's there, but the area around Exodus's castle is lava and water. So you can't directly access it from the moon gate, so you have to take a ship and go up through the area where the serpent is. So yeah, that's something we have to worry about later on. But he tells us that Exodus is beyond the silver serpent. So if you see a silver serpent out there, and we will, you'll know where he is. But anyway, we want to re-experience this game. And as I said, my first Ultima experience is Ultima 2. I really didn't enjoy 2 as much as I would have liked. See, Dupre laughs, drink up. Yeah, Dupre is a character that's recurring in this series. This is actually Dupre's first appearance. There were other characters, I think Iolo, and one of the others was originally in Ultima 2. But yeah, back to Ultima 2. One of the things that I disliked about Ultima 2 was the fact that it didn't matter what class you were, it all played the same. Good day. So when you were out there roaming around the world, you could be a wizard, you could be a cleric, you could be a fighter, you could be a thief. It didn't really matter. The game played exactly the same way, no matter what class you chose. So the generic answer for most of these people is good day. So if you see somebody who's stationary, one of the cool things about this game is the easiest way to tell an important NPC is to see if they're standing stationary, like this guy is. Round back. So, but anyway, Ultima 2 was a game that had a lot of flaws. And one of the flaws was that they had dungeons, they had towers. But dungeons and towers were entirely optional. So unless you were a masochist or you really wanted to see something different from what was already in Ultima 2, there was no reason for you to ever actually go inside a dungeon or do any of that kind of stuff. It was a waste of resources and time because there was literally no reason to go in there at all. And you didn't get anything special, whatever. Hello there. Only with exotic arms can you win. All right. Write that down in your handy-dandy notebook right here. You got to have a notebook for this game because there's no like journal or anything like that. You know, if we get spoiled by modern conveniences, this doesn't have any. So, anyway, back to Ultima 2 and my first Ultima experience. So, Ultima 2, you had the dungeons and the towers that were absolutely meaningless. On top of that, the way magic worked in this game was that magic spells were only usable inside the dungeons. So that's the next thing that comes to mind is, well, if you never have to go into the dungeons, why would you ever use magic? Well, you didn't. So there was no real reason for you to... Yeah, guards never say anything beyond good day most often. But yeah, there was no reason to ever actually use magic. So the spellcasting classes were pointless. So from there, you'd either play as a fighter or a thief. And a fighter is not exactly a very interesting class. And a thief, for that matter, was not very interesting either because the only kind of advantage you had as a thief was that you had a little bit higher dexterity. And that only mattered when you're stealing stuff. And if you're stealing stuff, it's a random chance of succeeding based on your dexterity. And the thing about that was that all you had to do was just keep trying. And eventually you'd steal the chest. So the problem is that by that time the guards were all over you and they would kick your butt and you'd die. So there was no real advantage to all that. So beyond that, you're just stuck playing sort of a vanilla fighter. Another thing that I didn't like about Ultima 2 was the fact that you had all these different weapons and they all kind of acted the same. So you could have a bow, you could have a sword, you could have an axe, you could have a mace, you could have a spear, and they all acted the same. You could even have a phaser in that game. So, just FYI about Ultima 2, it's basically Time Bandits the RPG. So you're traveling through different eras of history, and you could go into the future, and if you went into the future, you could buy futuristic weapons, or you could actually buy futuristic weapons in any part of the game. But you could like steal a rocket ship, and you can go into space and stuff like that, and that was kind of what you had to do in order to win the games. You had to go to Planet X, and from there, you have to search out certain people on these different planets, and dawn comes each new pair. So that's a reference to the moon gates, or the cycles of the moon. So one of the things about this game is that you have cycles of the moon. And in Ultima 2 and 1, you didn't really have that, but the cycles of the moon actually mean stuff. So when you have the moon gates appear, it'll be at specific times, and when the moons change, they can send you to different places. All right, I think we're done with this town. There's not really a whole lot here. So one of the things about Ultima 3 is the towns are very small. There's not a very large number of NPCs. Most of them have just basic dialogue. And then from there, they don't really tell you a whole lot. It's one sentence dialogue, so you just find the guys who are stationary. All right, so let's explore Lord British's castle. We haven't been here. There's a lot of stuff in Lord British's castle that we can't do yet. Chuckles, welcome all. Thanks, Chuckles. Chuckles is a recurring character, too. I believe he was in Ultima 2 as well. Chuckles was actually an employee at Origin Systems. Enter if you dare. Well, basically what this is, that's a locked door right here. And opening that door will probably trigger the guards, and they will attack you. And you can get rid of the guards, but it's expensive because what you could do is there is a command called bribe. And you can bribe the guards. It'll cost you 100 gold pieces, and they'll leave. This is the healing shop. This is an important place. Just remember where this is, because if you die or you have any kind of health-related issues with your character, you go here for healing. It'll cost you money, but it's worth it, because otherwise you die, or you will it costs you a lot more time in MPs to restore your character. So right here is a force field. The storerooms are where there's treasure. Going through the force field won't trigger the guards, but opening the doors and taking the chests will. So over here we have Lord British, as we saw earlier. Here's another locked room. We can't go there. We need to get special keys from the Thieves Guild to go there. But anyway, I was talking about Ultima 2. And the thing about Ultima 2 is, the other thing was that because the weapons didn't act any differently, so you could only attack the person adjacent to you. So ranged weapons and futuristic weapons, they all acted the same. So your damage output was pretty much the same. Cookie cries, like the food? Well, you can't answer them. He's not a vendor either, so you can't really buy food off of him. Say, Phantom Fighter, the food stinks. Well, I guess that should be a thing you mark down on Yelp, buddy. Let's see. You say anything? Nope, good day. He's moving around. I wouldn't expect him to say anything important. So all this stuff here is restricted. More than likely, there's a couple people that we need to talk to. Probably right next to Lord British's chamber is a guy. So we'll need to get us some keys at some point in the game, because unlocking some of these locked doors is going to be important. Okay, we're back out on the land. But yeah, back to Ultima 2. So because everything sort of behaved the same way, and there's the whirlpool right there. But yeah, because everything acted the same way, having different weapons really didn't mean much. The same kind of with armor. You didn't perform any differently with one sort of armor or another. There's a wizard out there. He's next to that town. And we're not going to be able to get to him yet. That's okay. We'll find a way to get to him. Let's see. I believe this is a dungeon area. Yeah, this is a dungeon coming up. We're not going in there yet. We need some. We need some equipment for that. But yeah. But back to the flaws of Ultima 2. Ultima 2 was a good game, but it was flawed. And this was where Ultima kind of started coming into its own, where you had a party, and you had, see, like I have a character with a bow, so he can range attack, and that range attack goes across the screen, and it actually feels like a ranged weapon. Come on, buddy. Alrighty. Got that chest. Sometimes that spell doesn't work, but the alternative is a lot worse because you could get poisoned and it's a long way back to the healing. Hey, that spell actually worked. Cool. Yeah, the spell Repond is a zero-cost spell for wizards that only affects orcs. I think that it's like orcs, goblins, or trolls, and they basically have the same icon. There is a similar spell for clerics that's a zero-cost. It's called Pontori, and it affects undead. So if you get attacked by skeletons or zombies or whatever, they all have the same icon. If it looks like a skeleton and it attacks you, it'll be vulnerable to Pontori. Problem is the likelihood of success is very low. So in this case, that actually worked, and it killed all the guys. But for the most part, it doesn't. Okay, there's nothing back there. Oh, here we go. So these are skeletons. Nope, see, it failed. Once you try it and it fails, it generally never works again. So, be prepared to fight. It's not a very reliable spell. I think it's sort of one of those things where they wanted to give you a little basic protection, because if you start roaming around the world and you're not prepared, and you don't follow the grind path that I told you about earlier, you're going to get killed, and you're going to get killed pretty quickly, because some of these monsters are pretty brutal. A lot of work for 4 XPs, but anyway. Alright. Let's see. There's that whirlpool again. We're going to need that whirlpool later on, but there's only one in that world, and there's another dungeon. Yeah, that's for later on. Once we find a boat, we'll have to worry about the dungeon. But until we find a boat, that whirlpool is kind of off limits. Dungeons, we're going to need some stuff. We're capable of going in there because we are past level 7 on our 2 primary characters. Let's go into this town. We're getting close to 30 minutes. I want to keep these to about 30 minutes in size. So this is Montor West. This town, from what I remember, is a town you didn't mess with. The Montors are two towns divided by a river. And one of the things about them is that there are a ton of guards here. So you don't mess around in this town. So stealing stuff or killing people is a bad idea unless you want to fight guards. And if you don't mind fighting guards, that's great. But I don't recommend it because they're very dangerous. I believe in the Commodore 64 version of the game, you could not actually kill the guards. In this version, this is the PC version. I'm playing this through DOSBox. I actually got this game as part of the Ultima collection, which was a CD-ROM release from way back in the day when they collected Ultima 1 through, I believe, 7. I don't have the disc right in front of me. I can't tell you. I pulled this off an archive that I had. But it's the prison. So more than likely what we're going to have to do is bribe this dude and open a door, and I don't have any keys. Well, I'll just save that area for later. Let's go looking for other NPCs that we can talk to. There's usually one or two around. So every town has like one or two NPCs in there that we can talk to. But basically, what we're going to do here is that we're going to be exploring this town. We're going to keep this to 30 minutes. And once we're done exploring this town, I'll save and we'll pick up from here in the next episode. This guy's moving around, so he's not going to say much. Same with this guy. These are just generic dudes. We're looking for some dude that's stationary. And because this town is full of guards, it'll most likely be someone who's hidden. Now, if we had a gem, we could do a view spell and look to see where all these people are at. Erosion Delight. Good food. Oh, it's Shamino. Or Shamino, whatever they call him. He's another character that's a recurring guy in the series. Sound tree. Good grog. There's a bar and there's a food shop. Any y'all gonna say anything beyond that? No. Yeah, these guards aren't going to say anything particularly interesting. But we're looking for somebody here. This looks suspicious. Let's go here. Anybody here? It's all dark. Nope, guess not. That looked awful suspicious. That looked like a place where there would be somebody hidden. Anybody on this side? The guard. Good day, huh? Anybody else in here? I guess not. Oh well, kind of a waste. Oh well. But yeah, we'll end after we exit this town, and we'll pick up again next time. We'll try to keep these into bite-sized segments. It'll mostly be me talking about Ultima 3 or the Ultimas. But this is going to be a full series where we're going to go through the entire game. And after this, we will probably go on to Ultima 4, which was another one of my favorite Ultimas. The Old School Game Tyme is going to be a lot of old stuff. I've got some games lined up. Probably going to do Legacy of Ancients along with this. Maybe Questron or Questron 2, depending on if I can find a copy of it. That's not going to be too much of a hassle to work. And from there, we will probably do other games. I don't have a lot of PC games that are in the old school category that I really enjoyed. I was kind of picky with games, and also there was a lot of crap from that era too. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try to do RPG type games. I'm thinking maybe we'll also do some of the early PlayStation stuff. So we're going to do the remasters if we can. My old PS1 died, as did my PS2. But there's other games out there that have come out that are remakes or remasters of the original. So I'm going to try to get Medieval, which was a PS1 game, and Okami, which was a PS2 game. Okami, highly underrated. Really a good game that should have gotten more critical acclaim than it actually did. A lot of diehard fans love that game. We're going to try to do that one, the HD remaster for PS4. Let's see what else. I'll try to find other stuff that will go into Old School Game Tyme. This channel is not just going to have old school stuff. We're going to have new stuff. There's a lot of cool games out there. Kind of want to do Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3. Let's see what else. There's a Code Vein maybe. I enjoyed Code Vein a lot. If you love anime and you love Dark Souls, Code Vein is kind of a game that you're gonna pick up. Especially if you're someone who's played God Eater and you really like the way God Eater works. So that's gonna be all for now. safe travels to you all. I'll catch you all in the next one, and we will be pick it up right where we left off with more Ultima 3. So catch you all later.